Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sort of Our Superman review. My name is Vincent Herman. Vin the Human, sitting to my left.
Bob Collins, Boba Fett.
And across from him,
James Odell, Alpha Spectre.
Welcome, everyone, for kind of an impromptu, not really sort of our podcast, Sort of My Podcast. It's been so long, I forgot.
But it is sort of our podcast.
Yeah.
It's always been our podcast.
So it's always been my podcast. I've chosen this review to get an ego trip.
That's
never had one on any previous episodes, but that I know. Anyways, what are you doing? You're bringing up the stream. Okay. All right, guys. We just got back from watching Superman, the brand new Superman, 2025. So we're gonna talk about it. And that's about it. Right now, we are in no spoilers territory.
As long as possible.
Probably won't be very long. We'll be like, all right, let's fucking throw this off. And we are going to pop a big old spoilers thing up here, and then you'll know.
Yeah.
All right, boys, where do you want to start?
Start at the beginning. Start at the beginning.
Okay, 1938.
Honestly, the intro, the credits coming in.
Okay, yeah.
Was very Richard Donner.
It's
Christopher Reeves Superman.
It's very much respectful of what came before.
100%. Yeah.
Right off the rip. Let's just say that it knows where it came from, but it also doesn't try to retread any ground to that respect. Like, there's not really. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that was like, oh, this is the exact same scene we saw in this other movie or this TV show, and it's paying nod to that or anything.
Yeah, really almost nothing. Nothing like that, yeah.
Nothing really fan servicey in that respect. But yeah,
yes.
that other than, it's kind of like a shined up version of the old Richard Donner films.
Yeah.
So that was great. Well, first, right out of the box, can we say, fucking loved it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely loved it. Yeah,
and most of what we saw in the trailers was first
pretty early
20
in the
minutes.
movie.
Oh my
God, yeah.
Granted, there was some shots from throughout each act of the movie, but most of the story that you get from the trailer,
the big
longer
extended scene they put that we thought was like part of the way through the movie. Very first thing in the movie.
At the beginning. Yeah, and it
also in regards to that scene, without spoiling anything at all, I constantly heard how long that scene was. A lot of people did not like the fact of how long it was. I did not feel like it was what they said was 10 minutes.
The interview scene? No, it doesn't feel that long.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be longer than what it was, and then by the time that scene was over, I was like, is this what everybody's getting upset about as far as the length of this scene?
Which is ridiculous because it keeps you engaged.
It's giving you both sides of not only their relationship but both sides of him.
Yeah,
in the aspect of everything going on, trying to portray as Clark and Superman in the same moment.
In the same conversation.
During that scene, Lois is kind of understanding that split more because she's consistently reminding him, this is on the record.
Yeah.
He keeps breaking through that. He keeps blending the two parts where she is like, there's supposed to be division here.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a very interesting scene too.
Yeah, and I thought it was great.
If nothing else, it gives us a look into their lives together, and that is a theme that we see built upon throughout the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So it leaves nothing wasted in that scene either.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah, there was not real. I don't think there's any scene throughout the whole movie that I felt like they could have went without this, or it was unnecessary. I mean, probably if I did rewatch it, you could probably pick a minute or so here and there.
Maybe,
but I don't see it right now. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not picturing any moment.
Off the top of my head, no. And I'm usually one of the first people to go like, I loved it. I think they could one of the first things that will usually come out of my mouth about a movie if I think they wasted some time. Like, I think they could have lost this, but yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. I can't think of anything I feel that way about with this. And it's a tight 2 hours 9 minutes, I think, is the runtime.
Oh yeah, it is.
It doesn't waste any of it. It doesn't lull. It just keeps you engaged, keeps the story, the characters moving, and it doesn't feel like 2 hours 10 minutes in both ways. It feels satisfying enough to where you could feel like, did I just watch a 2.5 hour movie?
Yeah.
And it's brisk enough to where, like, you don't feel every second of the 2
It doesn't
hours.
drag on at any point.
Yeah.
Like, the pacing of it felt very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and organic. Like, it wasn't like anything was forced. They weren't like rushing anything to get to the next step. It was a very well told story. Which I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I was expecting. Like, that's one thing that James Gunn can do is tell a very coherent story.
I tried everything I could to walk into this with, like, expectations turned off.
Yeah.
But the last few days, I've been seeing opinions I highly respect about movies coming out saying, this is a fantastic time. Some of them saying, like, we finally have a new second best Superman movie. Some of them saying, this is the best Superman movie. But all of them I know to definitely would not let anything slide. If this sucked, they'd be on it.
Yeah.
Or they'd at least be making posts about how disappointed they are or something. So it was very hard not to go in going like, oh, this is going to be good. Like, if these people are saying so, this is going to be good. Stephen Shives being one of them. Yeah. Shout out to Stephen Shives and his YouTube channel.
I mean, there were several moments unexpectedly in this movie, especially for me not being quite as deep in the Superman lore as you, that were very emotionally driven, or that sparked that feeling of like deeper emotion.
Yeah.
To the point, like, there were a couple of times the imagery with the music welling up and everything, it was like, you kind of start to feel it in your throat a little bit.
Yeah, that Superman theme, them slowing it down in some spots.
I want to talk about that theme for just a second because I had seen a couple of people who were like, this is supposed to be a new Superman. Why are they reusing the old theme? First of all, shut up. Second of all, I don't think there is ever going to be an opportunity to not use that theme because it is perfect. It is John Williams
he hit
right
it
out of the gate.
Yeah. He got it right the first time.
Yeah. So you can build on it, you can manipulate it, you can like add a couple new instruments to it. Like this definitely plays but
the first time a little bit into the movie that it came in with like the heavier electric guitar, like I can't remember exactly what moment it was, but I remember like that one it hit. And it hit hard. Yeah. And you could tell that that's what the intention was.
Yeah. Yeah. They definitely knew what they were doing with this. They used it well. And I don't think they ever should get away from it because it invokes everything Superman is.
It is also literally called the Superman theme. Like, you don't need to deviate away from a song that was made for this character and something that, like you said, the style of the song, the emotion through the music that John Williams has given us, it portrays what Superman is.
I mean, the song itself sings his name. You hear that dun dun dun, Superman. Yeah, it's just perfect. So I love what they were able to do with it. They gave it new life, but it's the same old thing that you love and know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But more on to the point of the emotional elements of this. This movie brings the human element.
Yes,
to it.
Very much.
Anyone walking out of this with the tired, one-dimensional, unthought-out opinion of like, well, I just don't like Superman because it's too powerful, Like, nobody could ever beat him and stuff like that.
This
like,
gave you.
How could I ever relate to him?
This is the film to watch.
This is the
This
anti-bad
answers
argument.
all those questions. Yes.
Superman gets his ass kicked a lot.
We won't go into too much detail on that just yet, but yeah, you're gonna watch Superman get the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah, I mean it's not a spoiler. It's been stated that this movie is 3 years into his Superman career, so it's still he's still very young and, for lack of a better term, a little hot-headed, a little not hot-headed, but
full of himself,
and
he's got a bit of an ego.
He's
absolutely
not thinking things through before going into it.
Yeah, just kind of blindly following a self-important ideal that he was more or less given when he came to Earth.
Well, and we see. Again, it was that extended scene that we got, the interview scene that came out before the movie and everything that you and I had talked about one night. Just in that scene where he said innocent people were going to die.
Yeah.
Like that scene in the teaser that we got in the movie hit so much harder because of
context.
The context, like the longer that scene went on. But that's exactly what his mindset is.
Yeah.
He's so fresh into, like you said, the Superman career, like being this beacon of hope that innocent people were going to die. I had to intervene. That's what I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Like and that's it. Like no pre-thought, no forethought.
Meanwhile, Lois is asking all the right questions, but he
Yeah.
can't hear her past that one ideal.
Yes.
And he becomes confronted with that throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that. I as much as Superman himself, I love the idea of him being able to be confronted with the idea that he's not right here, and he needs to fix his behavior in this or his attitude about that, and him being able to hear that and take that and do something with it.
And since we're on the subject of her, this iteration of Lois is honestly probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. Because what we should say about the Christopher Reeve, which awesome cameo by his son. He was the news reporter in the when he's talking about the Justice Gang, as they're calling themselves, going into what was it, Baravia? Yeah. The news reporter was Christopher Reeve's son.
That's awesome.
But what I love about the original movie is that it's very much the 1930s comic on screen. A little modernized for the 70s at that point, but they're very much playing into that pulp and that kitsch and everything. And so they're the perfect characters for that time, for that portrayal. This is the perfect Superman movie for the modern day.
Absolutely,
And it's so much, I can't say it won't become ever in a way that the original Superman movie has. I still feel like even though it's kind of old fashioned, you can still watch it and hold it to all the same ideals and qualities it had. Some of the effects are a little, there's one moment where Christopher Reeve jumps out the window because he's hearing the signal from Lex Luthor that only he can hear and stuff. And he jumps out of a window to a very busy Daily Planet as Clark Kent, and then just kind of fade shifts into the Superman costume.
We were talking about
and
that.
I was showing my partner that, and I looked at her and went, I got nothing.
I cannot justify this.
So this one won't have anything like that holds it back. But this one is definitely speaking to a modern audience. Definitely speaking to modern ideals. A modern Lois Lane.
Yeah.
And in that respect, I think what's the Rachel Brosnahan? I think she has perfectly encapsulated what a Lois Lane of 2025 would be.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can't think of anyone I'd put above her, other than maybe Margot Kidder, but they're two very different flavors of ice cream.
Honestly, I feel like the casting overall was very well.
Nobody is lacking in this. Everyone understands their assignment, what they're supposed to be there for, down to why can't I think of the character's name? I said it in the car. The mustache guy. Damn it! I know his character's name. The guy with the mustache, and he's like taking the Alka-Seltzer.
He's the sports writer for the newspaper. I can't think of his name.
I can't think of his name right now either, but I did say it in the car, and I do know it. But even him, he is just comic gold throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you got playing that dancing clown.
Yeah.
Like, there's some people that are a little funnier, some that take it all the way down the road serious, but everyone knows what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely. And one character that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much as I did by the time I got out of there was fucking Mr. Terrific.
Yes.
Mr. Terrific stands out so much.
I feel like that's a conversation once we get into the spoilers part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, that is something I absolutely want to talk about as Mr. Terrific.
And
he was terrific.
In that respect, although she gets play, I don't think Hawk Girl was highlighted enough.
She wasn't. I love that actress. I don't know if you watched The Last of Us.
I have not.
I haven't seen the second season yet.
Okay, well she's a character in the second season. She played Dora in the live action Dora movie. But I really enjoyed her acting in The Last of Us. So whenever I found out she was in this, I was like, okay, like I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I liked the little bit she was used.
Yeah.
But she was very
the movie doesn't forget about her, it just doesn't give her as much.
There's a scene towards the end with her that we'll talk about in spoilers. But I literally turned to Britt and said, "Holy shit! Like, that's terrifying."
Yeah. And that's very much Hot Girl too.
Yes, but I was excited to see
spoilers.
it. Yeah, dude. Honestly, every single character that played any kind of part in this, I think I have no complaints about the casting for it.
Let's talk about Guy Gardner a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, because I fucking hate Guy Gardner.
Yes.
In the comics and just about everything.
If you've listened to any of the
oh my god,
of the podcast
listen to early episodes of Sorta My Podcast. I think one is something is
the title of it is Fuck Guy
Gardner.
Yeah. There is and honestly, if they killed him in the comics, like for good, they're like, we're done with Guy Gardner, I would buy that and frame it. I would frame that issue.
You treat it like the death of Superman.
There
Buy him out.
Yes, perfect. Yes, one of the best comics ever written. Didn't hate him as much in this movie.
No.
Yeah.
Granted, it had the advantage of already being Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
We all love Nathan
doing his job.
And they didn't play him too serious, and I don't think they played him too goofy. He was definitely goofier than most characters. But I don't think that he was played as 100% a joke.
He is a dick and annoying, but they do it in a way that just makes sense and plays better than Guy Gardner actually does in the comics. Because in the comics, he's a dick dialed up to 11.
He's insufferable. Period.
Yeah. And he is almost purposely getting in people's way for his own kicks and stuff. And it's always a tense situation with that guy. And at no point, even in a huge moment of tension between Guy Gardner and Superman, did I feel like the same way I feel when I read Guy Gardner in the comics.
Agreed. Yeah.
So I was very happy about that. Yeah. I really thought I was going to walk away going like, fucking nobody could do Guy Gardner because he sucks so much.
Funny thing, real quick, while we were watching this movie,
they found a way to make Guy Gardner tolerable. If that is not a praise to this movie,
it should be on the reviews.
Yeah. I should have a shirt.
Guy Gardner is tolerable. You can read
the new Superman movie, it made Guy Gardner tolerable, and on the back it says, if you can read this, the bitch fell off.
So while we're watching the film, shortly after Guy Gardner was on screen,
it's a running joke. We've been doing it all weekend. Sorry.
As soon as Guy Gardner was on screen for a few minutes, Britt, who has no prior knowledge of, especially of any of the filming of this movie, but a lot of the characters, she just leans over. She goes, "God, that is a horrible wig." I said, first off, it's supposed to be. Second off, I think that's actually Nathan Fillion's hair.
I think they actually.
I think he actually
said it in the movie. Yeah. Yeah. It's. Let's see here. What else haven't we really covered yet? Spoilers. I think the story.
What about our villain?
The villain. Okay, Lex Luthor.
And friends.
And friends.
I'm sitting here and I'm only doing the math now. Mm-hmm. Lex Luthor is so good in this movie.
Yeah. He is. I had to lean over to Britt and say, like, Nicholas Hoult is fucking killing this dude.
I think I still, right now in this moment, I think I still prefer Gene Hackman. The one problem I've always had with the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor, though, is that, man, just let him put you in a bald cap. Let him make you bald. Yeah. Like, come on. Because that's what it was. Gene Hackman refused to be bald for the movie and only agreed to do that last moment at the end of the film, which is what the wigs and all that are about.
Gotcha.
But other than that, just I feel like he's just the perfect encapsulation of Lex Luthor, super brilliant, genius, evil billionaire, you know. Mm-hmm. And then you got your Michael Rosenbaums of it all, which I've been dying for them to bring him back as Lex in some capacity. And it was supposed to happen for Crisis on Infinite Earths. Yeah, but they couldn't reach an agreement.
Yeah. And as far as that is like concerned, I side with Rosie on.
Yeah, sure. You know, I mean, know your worth and stand up for it, and that's what he did. I just, you know, I would have loved to have seen it.
I would have loved to see it.
Man, Nicholas Hoult.
Yeah.
Again. The Lex Luthor for 2025.
Yeah.
It can't be stated. And you can have your personal preferences and stuff, but if you distilling it down to, like, does it make sense in the context of this movie, in the context of our world today, that is what I believe Lex Luthor would be in 2025. That is a perfect encapsulation of a billionaire run amok, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, and not just a billionaire run amok, but a billionaire who has honed in on this obsession.
Yeah.
And what he could do with his resources and what he did do with his resources. And
I mean, there's even a point where something was mentioned that he's been researching pretty much since the time that Superman came onto the scene.
Yeah.
He has been obsessing.
Yes.
And then, not to be, and I'm not really going to take this in a political way, but you compare this Lex Luthor to like an Elon Musk, where Elon Musk seems to be grasping at straws and just kind of doing things on a whim and screwing up all over the place. And you can tell he's the kind of person who, God, he just wants to be loved and respected, but he has absolutely no idea or a skewed idea of how to accomplish that. Yep. So much so that he's lying about playing video games. And then you stack him beside this guy, like you said, has a clear goal in mind and knows that he's going to have to take so many side roads to get it done because of his attributes that he can use and the ones that Superman has against him. Mm-hmm. And stays focused and is clear on what it is and will take side rewards as they come, but knows he doesn't care about them. He's a very dialed in Lex Luthor. Yeah. He is very aware of himself. He knows he is sociopathic. He knows he has ego and obsession, and he doesn't care because it's only about that one goal: kill Superman.
And that's, you know, it shows in. As the movie goes on, it shows in literally every aspect.
Yeah.
You know, and it gets deeper and deeper the more the movie goes on.
Yeah.
You know, without getting into any kind of spoilers right now, but by the end of it, it is very clear.
Yeah.
Like he has made his life's purpose so honed in that nothing else matters.
Yeah. And it's played very well. Like they kind of very cleverly give you more and more of Lex's motivation as they go, because in the beginning it just feels like Lex Luthor's up to Lex Luthor shit.
Yep, doing Lex shit.
There he goes. And then it feeds deeper into his motivations as it goes. And I really appreciated that. You know, it didn't gild the lily. Wait, how does that phrase work?
I don't know.
It gilded the lily, I think, is a good thing. So it
two in the bush.
It didn't bush the lily for the gild.
Glass house is two birds.
And if you can read this lily, the bitch fell off this.
People in glass houses sink ships.
for lilies. People in glass lilies.
If you can see people in glass lilies,
they've got
the ship has sunk.
They've got boats. All right, are we done with this?
Get you a book of proverbs or something.
I think that kind of takes us into the story, the plot of it all. Which again, you know, we won't spoil anything right now, but I really didn't. It was hard for me to figure out where the plot was going up to a certain point. Up to a certain point, the movie just basically tells you, like, this is what our villain is trying to accomplish.
And it was for a good while, the story was more about Lex Luthor and what he was doing. And like what he was trying to accomplish was really about the first 2 acts.
Yeah, I would say so. I think it also focuses pretty heavily on Superman and Lois's relationship in those acts as well.
You have that A and B. Like you have where we're getting that heavy focus on what Lex is doing, what he's trying to accomplish. And then you also have, you have the Lex and Superman story.
And I would almost say, like I was alluding to earlier with how they kind of hid the deeper motivations of Lex Luthor. I would say that the Lex Luthor storyline for the first act or two is kind of the B story, and then it forces itself into the A story. It demands to become the A story by a certain point. And the Lois and Clark of it all kind of takes a little bit of a backseat to that. Not entirely. It's not like they just walk away from it. They continue to build on that as well. But yeah, the swap there is a very interesting storytelling technique that I think this used.
Well,
nope.
Trying to do that quiet.
The way that the movie kind of starts out with like after the opening scene, the next one is more like we start out, we're focused on Superman. Our very next scene is very highly focused on Lex.
Yeah.
And so there's a good give and take there. And so
it gives you a little bit of each one.
Yeah.
It's like, here's our 2 players. Like,
and like you can see like they kind of like they start going their own direction, but then merge back up, and then that hard swap of like the focus.
Something else I think we can talk about outside of spoilers is I love how upfront James Gunn was going into this movie, and not a syllable was a lie. And I say that to get to the point that this movie does not necessarily hold your hand and explain to you superheroes are a thing, and these people have existed in this world for a little while. And
they give you some information at the very beginning.
A little bit of information at the very beginning, and then we're off.
It's what we get a 300-year note. We get a 30-year.
I don't necessarily want to spoil that for people.
Yeah.
I think that was so interesting.
I'm not going to say anything about the notes.
Right.
But as far as like it doesn't hold your hand. It's like, here's what you need to know. Let's move on.
Get in. Yeah.
Like that was
because it is very
well thought out.
Yeah, it is very much a lived-in world. And so we don't even see the inciting incident of Superman. And I'll say this because literally, like, the first 5 minutes of the movie. This is covered. We don't see the inciting incident of Superman going into Baravia.
Yeah.
We don't see that. No. We see the picking up from the aftermath. Yes.
Yeah. And going back to just like not having to hold your hand or anything, Brittany she understands the basics. You know, he's an alien, guy's in here. She does not know anything. She doesn't know whether or not this is tied to the Robert Pattinson Batman movie we watched together. She doesn't know. She might even think this is a Marvel movie. I don't know. But she was able to go in this and without me having to lean over and explain, which I do a lot on Marvel movies and stuff, or a lot of comic book movies in the past, where I'd be like, oh, this is so-and-so. He does this, or that's his sister. She was able to just sit down, immerse herself, enjoy it without asking a single question. I heard her laugh multiple times. She was concerned multiple times. And at the end of it, she was crying. And she stated out loud, I can't believe I'm crying over a Superman movie.
Yeah.
So, and that's somebody that is not a comic book nerd. That's not that hasn't lived with this character as strong as we have. Yeah. Was actually a little disappointed that, oh, we're going to go watch Superman? Man, I kind of want to watch a different movie. And she coming out of it enjoying it as much as we all did.
You said at one point, you were like, taking her bot, baby.
Yeah.
There's no turning back. There's no turning back.
But I think she was pleasantly surprised.
And I think that is definitely like a good review for the movie.
Exactly.
It speaks volumes to the fact that we are getting to a point, or we're now at a point where anyone can jump in.
Yeah, and into that happy medium where they're not just feeding us a bunch of fan service stuff or deep cuts that only some of us know.
And it's not
like no one knows. Half the audience didn't know who Cleo was when she popped in at the end of Doctor Strange and things like that. Mm-hmm. This is a perfect where it gave us characters that we haven't seen on screen yet.
Yeah,
you know, it gave us all these characters. It gave us all the things that we would have enjoyed, but also in the same breath, somebody who's not in it for that was able to thoroughly enjoy it. That it was the perfect marriage. I feel like this is one of the better movies that you can bring somebody that is from either end of the nerdy spectrum, either end of the age spectrum. We saw people in there that were twice our age. There was a little kids in there with us.
Yeah. It's a Superman for all ages.
It really is.
And I want to jump on that for just 1 second, but first I want to back up your point there and add to it. It's also not a plot that's spending the whole movie setting up the next movie or a big, combined movie. While it is a lived-in world, you don't know everything that's happening or has happened in this world yet. It's also not stopping its own story to like wait to that or say like, hey, you might want to come back to the theater in 2 years. Although it does set up one small thing, which I'll get to, and we'll get to in spoilers. And I really thought it should have been the post-credit scene, walking out. But the kids thing, I want to touch on this. It is, in my personal opinion, in my personal philosophy and morality, I do believe it is a Superman for all ages. Yeah. Anyone can go watch this movie and have a great time. However, I do feel like I should point out for some people with small children, there's a lot of cursing in this Superman. It is a grown-up Superman movie to an extent. They say shit so many times.
There's also images of a lot of middle fingers.
Oh yeah,
things of that.
A lot of middle fingers. They say "God damn it" a lot.
Yep.
I think the only word they didn't use was "fuck."
Yeah, well, I mean, the only word. They would have been allowed one, and they would have had to keep it at a PG-13.
Yeah, and it didn't need it.
No, absolutely,
it didn't need it. But it would have made sense for Guy Gardner to say it at some point.
Yeah.
If anybody was to say it, that or maybe a Lex during a certain point or so, just like,
yeah. But it does have a lot of cursing in that respect. I don't think you ever see Superman curse though.
Yeah, you do.
Oh yeah, he repeats super shit. Yeah. I think
that was the one.
I think that is it though, because
there's one where he said like where he's talking to Crypto and it's in the teaser where he's what the hey dude,
what the hey dude,
like,
a lot of gosh dang
it, gosh golly, like there's a few, and I love that because he wasn't he's not like your very cookie cutter Boy Scout like you jaywalked across the street type of Superman. But throwing little things like that in there where like, no, he didn't want to cuss.
But and you get to meet Ma and Pa Kent in this, and you know
this is my favorite Ma and Pa Kent.
You know that he was raised in that house with a bar soap in his mouth if he cursed.
Yes.
He has such respect and reverence for his Earth parents that I believe that he wouldn't rebel against that and learn his lesson.
This is honestly the most farm. Like parents that own a farm that I've seen in all of the Superman films.
During the trailer, and I've got to call you on this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
You swore that Ma Kent
thought
like an Irish or Scottish accent.
Really?
Yeah. Like, the way she says, "I cleaned your boots for you," in the trailer, it's done so fast that it almost has that like. A little bit, and she is redheaded, so she might have some Irish descent.
It's such a heavy, like
Kansas.
Southern,
farmhand
type accent,
and it's said so fast, and maybe even the music in the trailer is kind of like skewing the way I heard it.
It didn't help that she had a bowl of Lucky Charms,
and she was wearing all green, and it was St. Patrick's Day in that scene.
Keith Murphy's was playing in the background.
There was a rainbow with a pot of gold behind her.
So
racist.
Oh no! Oh no!
What have you done?
Fucking Odell again. Odell. Not again. Odell.
Why can't we have one time we get together? No, but no, you are correct. Totally a Southern Kansas accent, 100% through. At one point, Kayla leaned into me because she's from Kentucky, my partner, and she was like, "That's my mom," and I was like, and before she said it, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, "This woman is exactly like Kayla's mom."
Like to kind of touch on Ma and Pa Kent.
Don't touch Ma and Pa Kent.
I'm gonna hug him.
Okay.
That's acceptable and warranted.
The scene with Pa Kent and Superman sitting out on the bench.
Yeah, that we see in the teaser.
But in the movie,
within context,
we won't
it's beautiful.
Again go into spoilers too much, but that was one of the 3 times. That was one of the times I actually shed a tear. I welled up 3 times during this. And that was the one that got me. That whole, thinking about it now, like I've seen Field of Dreams, and I know how men feel about that movie based on the father-son dynamic. Everything people have described about Field of Dreams that didn't catch me when I watched it is what I felt in that moment watching the Superman movie with Pa Kent and Superman. Fucking beautiful. It's such a father-son moment too. It's great.
And
there is
the emotion, like the depth of emotion in that scene.
I don't know who that actor is, but he is fantastic.
Amazing, both of them. Ma Kent as well. And there's a scene at the very end of the movie that touches back onto the idea of family and parents. That's the one that brought the tears to the eyes at the end, which was that's what it was there for. I mean, it was there to hit you in the feels.
Well done, so well.
But the like little speech part at the end.
No. Well, we can get into it in spoilers.
We'll get into it in a moment, because I definitely want to talk about that at the very end of it.
I had to respond to a message.
You're good.
It's okay. Real quick, let's check in with chat. You still got that?
Yeah,
available.
Not really much happening.
Nothing
in the chat.
going on in chat. That's fine.
I posted in there that people can feel free to comment or talk, and we had creative jargon pop in. Sort of the crew, love to see it.
We wish you were here, brother. We wish you were here, brother. We understand. We totally get it. They were wondering themselves.
I don't understand. I don't get it.
He's got family stuff. The boy's got a family.
I said leave the kids.
Yeah, we did say off camera. If this, honestly, you should have just ruined his relationship.
Yeah, and just destroyed.
It was that good of a movie. But we do wish you were here. I am dragging you to see this movie. Please do jump off. I don't care if it costs us the view or whatever. Jump off of stream when we go into spoilers.
Please
do not listen to the spoilers. Because I'm taking you to see this movie. And I don't know how many times I'll be able to see it because of affordability, but I'm at least getting 3 in on top of what we saw today. So, what anything else we want to say that's like? I don't know if there's much more we can. The effects. Let's talk about effects.
The effects were great.
The effects were phenomenal.
Fantastic.
I mean, you'll have your things where he's fighting a giant like lizard monster thing. Of course, it's gonna look CG.
He's fighting a kaiju at one point.
Of course, it's gonna look CG, but it was pretty damn good CG.
For CG, it was very much.
The effects fights in this is what I was most impressed with. You could tell they really knew we need to make this look real. We need to give this weight. We need to give this depth. We need to make it feel like we shot this in camera, and I think they did a great job of that.
Yeah, they did.
It's in the trailer where Lex and his crew go into the Fortress of Solitude. So I feel like I can at least say, in that moment, in that scene, like it looks fine in the trailer, but you see it in the actual movie itself, plays so well. It doesn't feel like a bunch of CG characters flying around, a bunch of ones and zeros flopping off of each other.
There was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12, 14.
Yeah. It was and the code spells out, if you could read this, the bitch fell off.
Yeah.
But no. The thing I love about that too is that it wasn't just the effects, but the camera work did some of that work too. Like you could tell they employed camera techniques to make it feel a little heavier, a little harder. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. It looks great.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to share.
What did
X out of the chat?
Yeah.
And then the share
right
it took me like 5 minutes in.
But yeah, we want to say anything else on the effects?
Crypto.
The crypto effects I feel like were great.
Yeah, I feel like they're great.
There's a point or two that was a little rubbery.
Yeah. But there's only so much you can do. Yeah. And it would have been so much harder, and probably in some ways looked worse if they had used a real dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it for what it is, and Crypto is such a character in this movie, and that's what another thing I will say is that if you want to go to this movie for Crypto, you're gonna be satisfied.
Yes,
you're gonna get your Crypto fix. Don't worry. And
to give Crypto the big personality that they gave him.
Yeah.
And it showed in every aspect.
Yeah.
Like every scene in that movie, like you could tell what that dog was thinking.
It is not. It is one of those things where they deviated from the comics for a reason, and because typically Crypto is a very well behaved dog, very obedient, very. And I'm not going to say this Crypto isn't intelligent, but very intuitively intelligent.
Not my Crypto.
Hashtag not my Crypto.
Well, there's something we can get into the spoilers that could potentially be our reason why.
Yeah. But that deviation works, and they play it so well, and it's so fun. And it almost also gives you another element to Superman needing to learn patience and I really don't know where I'm going with that. I had a thing and I've lost my trail. But like, yeah, learning patience is
mainly that. Yeah, learning patience, and there's some things that he can't control.
Yes,
there's some things that are out of his hands.
Going, yes.
Because there is multiple points in this film, including during the interview scene that is available for everybody. That where he says like people were going to die. Like it's been a trait in Superman lore since the beginning that like he hears everything, he sees everything. There's like no one can get to people as quick as he can, so he feels obligated.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't, who's going to do it? And so I love this because, like how we're stating, this is early in his career. You see that battle, that internal battle he's having.
Yeah.
And that's part of what that discussion is with Lois. It's he's trying to explain to her like, yeah, like politics aside, people were going to die. If I didn't step in, somebody was going to die.
And what I love about that scene is that it builds and builds to Superman's frustration, boiling to a point of yelling.
Because he doesn't understand why people don't understand his viewpoint on that.
Yeah.
Which is very dangerously close to, it's the two sides of the same coin with Lex.
Yeah.
You know, Lex doesn't understand why people didn't see his viewpoint on how dangerous.
It's a frustration, and it's very much, and this is where we'll get a little political and stuff. It's very much, you see that stereotype of the man who like just wants to be praised for what he's done right and never wants to be told what he's done wrong.
Yeah.
And this is a moment where Superman is portraying those aspects of a bad partner. Because Lois is presenting him with like, okay, fine, yes, people were going to die, you saved them, but here's the fallout. Here's what you maybe should have done instead of doing that.
The ramification, the consequences of your actions are this.
Yeah.
And like even one of the lines is like, objectively, I would have taken a step back. Like
exactly that. She almost literally said like, you should have taken a beat. You should have taken a moment. To just think about what the consequences and repercussions of these actions are going to be. And it's not as simple as people were going to die and I saved them. Because now it creates conflict between political parties, between countries and army. You know, there's so much more tied to it than just
between
somebody.
Supposed allies.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's also said throughout that conversation, Superman consistently repeating himself, saying like, but people were going to die. I needed to stop people from dying. And at no point does Lois switch gears to praise him for that. And you can tell that's almost also part of where the frustration is getting at. He's getting agitated because he's not being praised for the good thing he did. He's being held accountable.
Because you can hear in that interview, like there's a little bit of arrogance in his voice at the start of it.
He's not taking it seriously at the beginning.
Right.
This is going to be a cute little interview.
Well, because he feels like, what he did was the right thing to do. Yeah. From his viewpoint, it was the absolute right thing to do. Go in there, save these lives, consequences be damned. But then once he's being forced to hear the other side, hear what the consequences were, what he could have done, should have done, and he doesn't want to hear that.
And grilling him on, like during that, where she says, well, okay, well, what if they don't? What's going to happen? Or he says, well, I told him he can talk, like, if it doesn't change, then he deals with me. Well, what does that imply? Yeah. Like, she's digging in. She's digging your heels in.
Picking apart his terminology because he can't
because he represents because what she's trying to get across to him that he's not understanding, especially in that scene, is that he represents more than just himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the problem with him doing what he did there.
And to hear him talk like that could be seen as an incredibly threatening thing, given his position in the world as the most powerful being in it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, through that whole interview scene, and I know like we've talked quite a bit about this scene, but it's very
important.
It's important.
Exactly.
Movie. It very much accentuates like how good of a reporter she is. She's like really digging into like the nitty gritty of this, knowing full well, like, one, she's interviewing her boyfriend as Superman, but like hitting him with all of these hard things.
Not pulling a single punch.
None. And even like doubling down on of them. And I think that really speaks volumes for this Lois Lane again, is, you know, relentless may be a little harsh of a word, but at the same time, you know, she's not afraid, no matter who it is or what it is, to dig in. And one of the questions that was asked during that little interview was, because when he made her go off record, was, you know, you wouldn't know that. And she was like, yeah, but it's a question I would ask whether I knew or not. And so like that line right there
shows that she's there for the story. Like she's true to the story.
She took all bias out of that entire scene and was Lois Lane, reporter.
And honestly, out of a Lois Lane, that's what I want. Like, and I feel like almost all portrayals of her has shown the fact that like she is a good reporter. She does go, you know, above and beyond to get the story and to get the true story and all that. But the way they did it in that aspect, the fact that like this is affecting her on a personal level, on an intimate level, and the fact that the journalistic integrity is still there when it could literally hurt the person that she loves. It tells a lot about the character without saying anything about the character.
And you could also see that kind of click as well when he had that moment, like emotions were so high and he yells, innocent people were going to die. That's where the scene ends in the teaser that we got.
And
you know,
and it goes further.
The very next shot is just seeing her realizing how he's being affected by not only the interview but his viewpoint on things
and his responsibility, his sense of responsibility. That was another big thing, because like you see it in his face when he says that line, that like he feels responsible for those lives. Because if he doesn't save them, who's going to save them?
Right.
And that's not a God complex type of thing. He just understands that he's in a position on this world that he's able to help. That's literally his whole theme. His whole theme is he's there to help. You know. So you can see the anguish in his eyes or his face and stuff when he's talking about that. You can connect that to that, where it's he has a responsibility to himself, that he feels to himself, to the world, that if he can help somebody, he will help somebody.
And I think that really resonates in, like, she finally understands that after that little outburst. It's like through her reaction, and then like her wanting to change topics.
It felt like her character realized who his character is. I mean, realized his moral compass. Realized where his heart stood. You know,
and just the full scene is so much deeper, so much better than what we got in the teaser.
So many undertones and context.
Oh God!
Just not even said on screen, but like inferred in the moments.
And there's little moments with it that it's even in this very serious scene and very like important scene. There are still little moments, a little like slightly, I don't want to say funny, but kind of cute, funny moments that made it feel very realistic. Made it feel like they were a real couple. There was a moment where he was trying to press a button on a thing, and like, I don't know how to do it. Like, I do that all the time, you know. Like, it felt very organic and real.
Well, and something else that I noticed is, so the scene starts like he's making dinner. At the end of the scene, they're taking their dinner plates into the kitchen. So that scene, that interview is spanning over the course of a
Well, if you notice, whenever
time.
that interview first starts, the table that's in the living room, I don't know if you noticed, their plates are sitting there, and it looks like they ate already. So what it looks like is he cooked, they sat down, ate, and then they did the.
It cuts from him telling her, like, they're in the kitchen, him telling her, like, oh, you can interview me now, and and then it cuts, and she's automatically sitting on the couch, and he's automatically sitting in the chair. So and then you could imply that the dinner was eaten.
Yeah, but I mean,
those two cuts.
You don't even have to.
It's right there.
It's right there on the table, and you can see like there's still a little bit of food on it, but you can tell it's been eaten.
See, I didn't notice that. I just noticed the plates being carried in later.
I always notice the food, buddy.
Yeah,
always.
And in the inflections and delivery of the lines. So, are you ready? It kind of implies maybe they were talking about something else just before this, and then it finally led back to that.
Yeah.
And now we're picking up with them, but we didn't see the whole dinner scene. Because there's nothing important.
Do we have much more to say about the interview scene? And the only reason I feel like it's okay that we're spending this much time on it, this is that scene, most of that, and not only that, but most of that scene is available to the public.
And I also don't
So we're able to have this conversation pre-spoilers.
I don't think we've said anything that really spoils anything about the movie.
Except they had dinner.
Oh boy.
That's a huge plot point.
And also, anyone who's seen the trailer, it's like, I don't really. They might be getting more information than they had before, but
there is something I want to say about the interview scene once we get into the spoiler.
Well, that Spawn pops up, crazy cameo.
Yeah, right? Kind of threw the whole scene off.
And then Mephisto comes out of nowhere.
Mephisto.
It's like, what are you
But he was doing the Borat voice. It was very weird.
Wild.
My magic.
My curse.
My curse.
All right. Anything else about the scene before we jump around a little bit more non-spoilers?
Well, do we have anything else non-spoilers?
I feel like we've kind of hit a lot of bases as far as non-spoilers go.
Yeah.
Too much more, and we'll kind of start.
We hit the music, we hit the characters, we hit the plot, the effects.
And quickly, as far as music goes, with the James Gunn movie, with the Suicide Squad, and all the Guardians movies, you expect needle drops of very popular songs.
Oh, yeah.
This one had what? One?
No, it had two or three.
Listen, the where they give credit in the credits where they give credit. There's three. One of which is the band that is a fictional band that James Gunn wrote a song.
No, actually,
one of which is
that band was the name of James Gunn's band when he was a teenager.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I've seen that it was like written.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the picture on the poster is actually a picture.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
There's the song that was playing at the very end of the movie.
Right.
And I think it was credited one more song. There's really no needle drops in this.
No, but the music that was there was used very well.
Yes.
And the instrumental music.
Yeah. But 90% of it was instrumental. I'm just saying
the couple songs.
The few songs.
The few actual needle drop songs.
They were used well, and it wasn't overbearing.
No, not at all.
Okay, so we ready to move into spoilers?
We doing it?
We gonna spoil something? I was like, I don't know what to do.
I think we're gonna have to go a little higher.
Oh, you just look at the screen. Tell me if that looks all right.
Well, it takes about 30 seconds to catch up.
I don't want to stick it long enough through this, Travis.
The only thing that I'm thinking is if Benny's head's gonna block it.
Benny's head's fine.
We might need more tape.
Get
the duct tape. Get the duct tape, boys.
I don't know what kind of tape that is. Go ahead.
I have no idea.
Duct tape, right here. Ladies and gentlemen.
Intermission.
Intermission. I feel like we need music in between.
Yeah, we should have waited music.
I can be a hero.
Should just be like.
I can get some way on.
Just to even it up, let's put some tape on all four sides just to make it look better. Better?
Nah.
Question mark?
All right, so go ahead, sit down. We'll
Oh yeah, you gotta put the Travis Herman original back up, bud.
Your head is just underneath it.
Yeah.
And
what's funny is you can barely just read. You can't even really just read what it says. Well, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. So we are now entering the spoilery portion.
The spoiler zone.
One day your ass, and then Zod flies off in the spoiler zone.
All right. Okay. Well, jumping right into spoilers.
So many penises.
All right. Did you guys know who was casted as Darrell prior to this? I didn't. I never caught any wind of it.
I don't know who that was.
That's Bradley Cooper.
Was it?
Yeah.
I thought so, and I was like, no way.
Bradley Cooper, Darrell.
The first thing I thought was Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
and then
Bradley
I was
Cooper.
like, that's not Bradley.
That's what I said.
Barely recognize.
That's what I said in the card. Never mind, you're not caught up on a different show that he cameos in this year.
But
yeah, no, I had no idea that he was. I'm not sure who was casted
Laura?
as. I'm not sure who was casted as the mom.
Yeah. No, I did not know that was Bradley Cooper. Huh.
Yeah, I had no idea. But
Wow.
I mean, obviously, he likes reusing his guys.
Yeah.
And he's never actually used him on screen before, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Because he only had a good voice.
It's always been him as a voice actor.
Is there anything spoilers like while we were still on the train of the interview scene? Is there anything spoilers we can
one of the
breakfast for dinner was made, and it's not Lois's favorite. She's like breakfast at breakfast time.
I think that also played. That was a good extra beat on the he's kind of he's not
Travis quit watching.
He's not a great boyfriend.
Yeah.
He
doesn't listen.
He's trying.
He listens enough. It which is very kind of like it's on point for certain Superman stories where he's so focused on the other shit that he can hear and what he needs to be doing. He's only catching bits and pieces. He only caught the understanding she likes breakfast. But he was thinking like, oh, she likes it for dinner. No, he enjoys it for dinner. She just likes fucking breakfast.
Yeah,
breakfast. Yeah, so it's almost like, oh, he does listen as much as he's able to in that moment, type of thing.
And I would say
it does. Yeah, it shows that like where her frustration, since we're in spoilers, where she was planning on breaking up with him.
Yeah.
After that conversation.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I would say. This is maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, this is maybe one area that the movie doesn't fully deliver on, is because they have that interaction and that whole interview conversation and stuff. They have that moment a little more than halfway through the film where the 10 monsters attacking the city.
Yeah.
He's just having cocoa with her. And stuff.
Sipping on a cup of hot cocoa.
They've got it.
they've got
Guy Gardner's a giant baseball bat in the background.
But they never truly hold him accountable for him being a bad boyfriend. Things just kind of end out working out between them.
She literally, I mean,
she really...
It is a touch toxic because there literally was a line that she said where she said, I was planning on breaking it off with him until he told me he loved me.
Yeah.
It's a little toxic. And
there's moments where she spends time with his family and stuff. So I feel like there's some stuff that does kind of bring her around.
Absolutely.
But none of it is him doing the work to be a better partner.
No.
And the movie just doesn't pick that ball back up.
No, they don't. Not at all.
Yeah, and I didn't think about it until just now. But I was like, wow. They didn't really resolve it. They just get back together, and she's and I did tear up a little bit when she said, "I love you." Back to him. Because you have to keep in mind, I think this relationship's like 3 months old.
Yeah,
roughly 3 months. So it's still a new relationship.
Yeah, a lot of threes.
Yeah, a lot of threes involved with this bad boy.
Which must mean we're getting 3 Superman movies.
I hope.
No, I'm pretty sure that confirms 3 Jokers.
3 Jokers. 3 Jokers is the next story.
Right. 3 Jonglers.
I do want to kind of talk about that a bit. I did not get to finish All-Star Superman before starting this. I did, however, read all the way up through issue 9, so I still have 3 left to read. And I did read Superman for All Seasons, and I will say the inspirations where James Gunn said they really borrowed heavily from those source materials. The inspirations more come from All-Star Superman. There's some elements of
All Seasons.
Of All Seasons, especially maybe in the Pa Kent of it all. Mm-hmm. But it's really, really heavily borrowing from All-Star Superman. So much so, there is, if you're not familiar with the plot of All-Star Superman, I guess spoilers for that as well. Superman is saved mission to the sun. The very first scientific mission to the sun. Something goes wrong with the pod, and Superman goes to save it. But by doing so, he exposes himself to more solar radiation than his cells can handle, and so it is killing him. So he is slowly dying, and that's like first issue, 12-issue story. So there's plenty more to get. If that turns you off, like, oh, now I know everything. No, you don't.
You don't know anything.
But turns out, plot from Lex Luthor. Like, he manipulated everything to get that to happen. And by the issue that I read, issue 9, Lex Luthor is in prison, and he doesn't care because he won. His whole motivation, his whole obsession, everything he does is based on killing Superman. And the reasons are all stark for what the reasons Lex Luthor gives in this movie.
Yeah.
And it even comes down to...
Which honestly is a lot, most of the time, his reasons anyway.
Right, but not in so much of a sociopathic, obsessively driven, like, very well articulated reason. A lot of times it is just, Lex Luthor's doing gotta kill Superman shit again.
Yeah.
As if it's like a hobby. There's even a moment in that comic book where Clark Kent goes to do an interview with Lex Luthor in prison, and through that conversation, Lex Luthor basically reveals, like, I know who you are. Like, I know it's you and stuff. And he's like, and they have kind of a back and forth of like a Superman going like, why don't you just want to do good? You could do good. And he's like, I don't want to. So, and it's very simply put. I think Lex says those exact words in the book. I don't want to.
It's like that panel that pops up every once in a while from the Spider-Man comic where it's like, you cure cancer. Like, why?
Yeah. Like, I don't want to.
Like, I don't want to cure cancer. I want to make dinosaurs.
I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
But they have a conversation like that. Not as drawn out, but there's a conversation between Lex and Superman in this movie
that is very much in that same vein.
In that same vein, and towards the end, at that when Superman has that conversation.
Are you talking about when he comes in?
Yeah. You don't understand.
I thought that was such a good fucking, like, it was such a good back and forth with those.
This movie does so much with moments like that to humanize Superman. Like, to really make Superman, he is just a guy, but he also is the most powerful person on the planet.
That scene specifically is so powerful, and especially that was one of the ones that I started to get kind of teary-eyed as he was talking. And it's like, you know, he goes through the same spectrum of emotions. He goes through this and that day in and day out. You know,
he still has to wash his dishes. He still has to pay bills.
That's that's what makes him human, but he chooses to do the right thing.
Yeah. And then there's even little moments, like with the rift that's opening up, and he finally throws Ultraman into the black hole, and we are now chatting for the people who have seen the movie. So, like, if you're wanting us to go into a diatribe and explain the scene, no. You've either seen the movie or
we're going to be jumping all around back and forth.
I have something to say about black hole.
We have an interdimensional fucking portal that we're jumping around.
We are
right
in
now.
the ADHD segment of the stream.
Yes.
But after he throws Ultraman through that black hole, and finally just takes one moment to breathe, and Mr. Terrific's like, get the fuck up! What are you doing?
Doing something really important.
He's like, you're not laying around and just did some really important stuff.
So earlier,
I so relate to that.
And can we appreciate the fact that essentially we had a whole scene where it was literally just Superman caught in a river, about to go into a waterfall. Essentially, is what it was.
That's one of the things I wanted to bring up.
I thought it was, but I mean, okay, I don't know if this was like James Gunn's intention or not, but like in the same vein that like the 1960s Batman show was such a weird show, but it was based off of shit that was already weird, like in the comics.
Yeah.
There is a lot of really weird ass older Superman shit where that felt like that could be like, well, what do we do? We'll just use the same story line for this old Western that we had, but this is in space. Well, make it a fucking proton cosmic river.
An anti-proton river.
Yeah. But he has a baby. Make it an alien baby. I don't care. What about the waterfall? Make it a black hole.
At the end of that scene, so we have Element Man coming in. As like
Element Man. You said Elephant Man.
I said I'm pretty sure I said Element, but anyway,
There's Beast Boy or Animal Man, if that's who you referred to.
Like his body as like a fucking rocket.
Yeah.
You know, coming in to try to save. And this is one scene that I had a little bit of an issue with.
Okay.
Is
it
when he just and propels them backwards much more effectively than him trying to reach out with a fucking jet rocket.
Yeah.
Superman's breath was more powerful than that to push them away from a black hole.
Maybe it was okay. Go with me here.
Oh no.
Strap it. Maybe in the tradition of Superman movies always, and it seems like this is in every Superman movie.
I know exactly where you're going with it. He does something
ridiculous
that makes
no fucking sense. In the first movie, it's spinning the earth around.
Backwards to make time go.
In returns, it's lifting that Kryptonite Island, even though just like 10 minutes ago, he couldn't stand.
Right.
And in this, it's he can't fly his way out of that river, but boy does that super breath work.
Right? Like it was so outlandish and ridiculous in that moment.
At least in this one didn't make up a power to misuse.
Right? But like, because there were a couple of different times that he used the breath.
Well, which I'm so happy for because it doesn't get enough play.
It really doesn't. What would you prefer that he do? Throw a cellophane ass at the black hole and cover it up?
Fly!
Yes.
Like,
yes, I kind of. If it happened, I would have been like, that's so fucking stupid and ridiculous, but.
And you could simply rewrite it. You could simply rewrite it. And it could just be that, like, okay, because they did enough explanation that river, that cosmic river or whatever, was like, you know.
It could destroy the way Mr. Terrific said is it would destroy someone in seconds.
Right. So you can say while he's in the river, his cells are being attacked or he's too tampered down to be able to use his flight to get out of it. But once they broke the breach of the river and he was starting to go towards the black hole, that could have been a good moment where you could have had him go, like, he's using everything to try and fly out of this. Enough to just at least maintain one position without backsliding any further. Mm-hmm. And then that's when Element Man comes in, grabs him, gives him the extra boost. And they get the fuck out of it.
Like, dude, Element Man popping and then just becoming a fucking flying head.
Oh, he did the acid thing.
They used Element Man so well.
My
God.
And I can't. What's the guy's name that plays? And he plays Soho.
Well, he plays Zaz in Gotham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He plays Zaz in Gotham. Either of you guys watch Barry? With
No,
Bill Hader. His character in that is fantastic.
Yeah.
kind of wish they would use a little less makeup on his face and you could see his facial features better, because I was like, that's perfect casting just because like he has a good face for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, don't get me wrong, the character didn't look bad, but I was like, oh, I wish you could see some of his features.
I think it's majoritively a practical suit too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you can definitely tell that.
Yeah.
What I thought was really cool, it like that moment of that switch with Element Man's character.
Yeah.
And like, you know, he turns off the kryptonite and all that, and then but then he starts going through his head like, well, I can't give you the sun, but and literally
I know, like
he knows
one of the elements.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such a cool moment.
Yeah.
And then
cool.
like the fucks in the cells on the side was like, hey, fucking like.
Okay, but while I'm thinking of it, since we are on the subject of the prison, was Mr. Handsome the guy operating? Is that a white Martian?
See, I was thinking that was a white Martian.
It looked like it.
Yeah.
It was either that or Slender Man.
I don't know.
He was referred to once as Mr. Handsome.
Mr. Handsome, yeah.
Is that a character? Is that a pre-existing character?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember ever hearing.
It sounds vaguely familiar, like I've heard somebody, like a character.
There's
in
a
something
billion comics out there, and so many Superman stories I haven't read, so I don't know. It could be. But yeah, and on top of like, and it kind of goes into what we were talking about earlier about how the movie doesn't really hold your hand, but it does a good job at least like
giving you what
you need. Yeah, like you don't need to know Element Man's entire backstory.
No.
Here's what you need to know: he's in prison, his son's being held captive,
and he can make elements.
These are all you need for Element Man. Right?
I was hoping for any kind of little fan service Easter egg moment, it was during the prison shots.
Well,
like maybe
there was so
granted,
much.
There still might be.
I was focused on the central thing.
And then also we did watch it in IMAX, and I don't know if you realize you have to kind of center your eyes to the center of the screen to get the good view of everything. If not, everything is off, like it feels fuzzy a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, cause one of the things I noticed,
which we didn't say that up top, that we saw this. But we saw it the right way.
I noticed because of the style of it. There was a scene where they were showing one of the TVs. And you could tell like the TV on film
it has a
was
wicked
like,
little curve on it. But granted, we were pretty center of the theater. Like we actually, like you and your partner were all probably dead center.
We were.
I think you had the
perfect seat. Yeah.
Which I'm glad. Like, I'm glad that we had that good spot there.
Yeah. Well, very specifically chosen. But while we're on that subject, it was great in IMAX.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see this movie in a 4DX.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many like things they could do with 4DX to immerse you in the experience.
The cold during the
every time you're in Antarctica.
Yeah, like any of the.
There's another thing, like a little subtle thing where they point out, like, where Lex Luthor is talking about how his Fortress of Solitude breaks 12 international treaties. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Lex isn't wrong about that. Superman really is just going like,
to be fair,
alien guys, I don't know.
Lex did point out like a lot of legitimate issues with what Superman does, the fortress, like all kinds of stuff.
And while we're on the subject, I really agree with Elon Musk when he's
But I mean, that kind of multiple times.
Right wing since our last episode.
Yikes!
Oh God. No.
But multiple times throughout this movie, some people do bring up good points where it's like, I know there's no nefarious, like, reasons behind your actions, but like, no, what you're doing isn't necessarily right. You think it's right. Like Lois does it throughout the interview. You're saving lives, but you're breaking tons of laws.
I was gonna say what you're doing is
you're poking the fucking bear of the stability. Yeah, exactly. Or like
how often does he violate the Geneva Convention?
Yeah. or just basic like city laws.
Oh yeah. Well, and one of the things that I really appreciate that this kind of touched on is during the scene when the buildings are falling, and I was fully expecting okay, he's gonna catch the building and like the whole thing's gonna stop. The building is still crumbling around the spot that he's holding.
Yeah,
but he stops it long enough for that car to get out.
I love that it made an active effort to show that he was trying to have the minimal amount of collateral damage.
Yeah.
Yes.
The minimal.
Down to saving a squirrel.
Yes. Dude, the squirrel scene. In the moment, I was like, that's a little, like, are we really? But, like, you kind of need that. You kind of need at least one quick second that shows, like, he'll even stop and get your cat out of the tree.
Yeah.
He'll even stop and save the squirrel.
Yeah, this was...
If he's able... It goes right back to if he's able to save a life, then that's not limited to human life.
Yeah.
If he's able to save a life, he'll save a life.
Yeah, that was very much the cat out of the tree moment from the Christopher Reeves story, but for this movie. Yeah. No, oh man, I had something just before I said the fucking while the building was crumbling, there was another moment that I thought they were going to do some fan service that they didn't. Because if you notice, the car is a very distinct color of green.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I thought the building was going to start to crumble and she wasn't going to get out of it fast enough, so he'd pick it up and then fucking do the whole putting it down thing. But I'm glad they didn't do that. And I've even thought this like leading up over the last few months and stuff, hoping they don't do that because it's been done
multiple times.
They did it exactly in
Returns.
In Returns.
Yeah.
They did it in Superman and Lois. They've done it. It's been done. So, and I don't see how this could have done it any better.
But in this scene, like him holding that, giving her just enough time to get out.
Yeah.
But the building, like I said, my big thing was the fact that the building was still falling around it. It wasn't like
he was able to hold up where he was holding enough to get her out.
Yes,
of it.
yeah.
But he wasn't trying to save the building necessarily.
Right, well, because so many times we've seen like portrayed, okay, this building is falling. Oh, pushes half the building.
The whole
back
thing
up.
is up. Yeah,
like that's not how buildings work.
James Gunn did say that this was comparatively to some other Supermans. This is a much more depowered Superman, and not necessarily in the way that like he's being handicapped. Although at certain points, like he is less powerful because of the reasons that have happened in the movie. But
he doesn't want him to be the Superman that can punch through a sun.
At his max. He is still not as powerful as some other Superman.
Essentially, what he said was, if you have a Superman that is like the max Superman that you hear about in some stories, like he fucking can pull a sun or whatever, he's like, it's boring. You're like, there's no stakes there. There's nothing. Yeah. There's like, what do you have to worry about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then like during that scene, like
it's a boring
through the rubble, you see him raise up into the sunlight. Like that imagery was
twofold. It was meant to communicate two things in that moment, and I loved it. I picked up on it right away. Fucking he rises up because she's looking out of her rear view mirror, and she sees him rise up like a god.
Yeah.
And then you cut to his perspective, and it's just the car driving away,
and her like barely making it across the crumbling ridge.
So it shows you the two like contrast of what they're experiencing in that moment.
Yeah.
Superman has saved a life and it's back to work, and she is like in awestruck of this god,
the savior,
this Ubermensch, you know.
And but kind of going to one of the other things before I forget about it, back into like the interview. One of the things that I caught towards the tail end of it.
We've talked about this interview longer than the interview actually takes place.
Well, I don't know if you guys caught it or not, and I thought that maybe it was going to come into play later in the movie, but it never did. Maybe come in later in the movies.
Universe. Yeah.
But they almost right at the end of the interview, still on record, she calls him Clark.
Yeah.
On record.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is she wasn't. They're not using that tape necessarily.
Well, because afterwards
that there's going to have to be some editing.
Yeah, he said it like
because there's multiple times that it's like stuff that is.
This was supposed to be off the record.
That he quote unquote breaks character within the framing of the story. Have a real conversation, have a real argument with Lois.
I mean, he even says as he's walking out the door in that he says, "Don't like essentially like you can't use everything there." She's like, "Fucking, I know." Like,
where my thought process on it is that someone else will get a hold of that tape.
Yeah, and that could be an element.
But here's something that I want to know. I understand the glasses explanation, right?
Oh yeah, that is so perfectly dropped and they just move on.
Yeah.
But yeah, the hypno glasses are a thing in this universe. If you don't know, in the comic books, there have been so many explanations for why Superman can fake fool people, and one of the goofiest ones has been that he wears glasses that hypnotize people into seeing his face different than Superman's. Yeah. But they just drop that and move on.
That aside, as far as Ultraman goes, does this mean that Lex does know who Clark is?
I would think so.
You almost have to. By that point, you have DNA, right?
No, because Ultraman doesn't have the glasses, and so the hypno glasses would still fool Lex. You would think. He didn't seem to let on at all that he knew.
No, because the only person that he said that he knew that he was close to was
because
during
the prison scene.
I just thought about that line.
I can't believe they shot that guy, and I was like, oh, the movie's not fucking playing around. Yeah, Superman is failed to fucking save this, and then. I couldn't help but have a little moment, it was a little moment of a chuckle before I went back, where he was like, I didn't think that'd go so fast. And I was like, fucking Lex Luthor, god damn it.
Well, there's a lot of little moments that are like that, where you're just like, that was like, it was a very realistic thing to say.
As made evident by the women who were sitting up back behind us, there were a lot of funny moments in this.
Jesus Christ.
Those ladies were loving it. And they seem to know the lore too, because one of them called out a character.
Supergirl, Kara.
Oh yeah, they said Kara. Yeah.
Dude,
let's talk.
I can't fucking wait. I want this Supergirl movie now, bro. I was not.
Came in the fucking fuzzy jacket.
Dude, and fucking clearly hungover.
Yeah. I agree with you. I feel like she was still like partially wasted.
Dude, I want to see at least a scene of her on a planet with a red sun where she's just getting shit faced.
Yeah. I mean, if they are following Woman of Tomorrow, you will, because that is an element in that movie or in that comic book.
And then knowing, another thing to kind of realize, knowing that Crypto is technically her dog, that explains so much about why Crypto is not.
That's what
I love that they have a whole moment about that. Yeah, it's not healthy. You see where the behavioral issues come from.
It's not healthy.
Yeah.
If I were capable of compassion, I would be worried about.
Four is a name. So is
Gary.
Was that Alan Tudyk?
That is Alan Tudyk.
Absolutely Alan Tudyk.
Michael Rosenbaum plays the voice of another one.
It was like one of the ones whenever he at the beginning of the movie.
But I do want to say I think the Kara scene should have been the post credits.
Yes.
I fully agree.
One, that would have been important enough for my partner to put off going to the bathroom for, which she so desperately needed to. And all we got was like, oh, there's a crack in the buildings, and Mr.
And the mid-credit scene was a cute little quick scene, but it was a nothing scene. Yeah.
Just Superman sitting with Crypto.
If you kind of noticed, there's in James Gunn's past, his mid-credit scene is really not much.
Yeah.
So I was like that. I was just like, okay, but that post-credit scene must be something.
Because the scene
Nah.
exists to give those two a small moment, but also exists to set up Supergirl.
Yeah.
Without doing too much heavy lifting. Perfect fucking end credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do feel like that was misplaced in the movie, but
She called him a bitch.
That's right. I caught the end of that because Kayla was trying to ask me something. I don't remember.
But she told him, she said, "Thanks for watching my dog, bitch."
Yeah. Fucking. I can't wait to see that movie. Dude, Woman of Tomorrow, which is being renamed to just Supergirl, but Supergirl is gonna be so good.
Dude, that raised my excitement and anticipation to that 100-fold.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, all right, no, like, I'm cool. Hell yeah. I'm down with a Superman or Supergirl movie.
Yeah.
I just was like, all right, whatever. Like, I was not negative towards it whatsoever, but I also was not excited. Right. Seeing that quick scene, I'm like, I cannot wait.
I was excited enough knowing what the writing motivations were, knowing that it was based on Woman of Tomorrow, and I love that story. So that enough was for me to go like, okay, I'm into this.
Yeah, but I didn't want to get as excited about like what it's based on until I watched this and seen comparatively like, oh, it was based on All-Star Superman and Of All Ages. Let's see like what, and it was like it definitely took enough from those that it felt like it was nicely based or inspired by them, but it wasn't Superman. It wasn't fucking slapping the name Secret Invasion on it, and it's not Secret Invasion.
One thing I wonder, because in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, some of the trouble she gets into is because of the S on her chest. And Superman had a line in this about being disappointed he wasn't able to take the kaiju to an intergalactic zoo, which suggests that in this 3 years, there's also been a lot of space travel and shit. So I'm wondering if we'll find out more about that in Supergirl or what, but it was very downplayed.
I hope Supergirl goes to the intergalactic zoo.
I hope she's drunk there.
I hope she gets drunk.
I hope she is wasted and she sets free all of the intergalactic.
I hope she's wasted the whole.
Oh my god! If that is not the opening scene of Supergirl, you're right.
Oh my god! The monkey bots.
Oh my god!
So good. Oh my god!
And I feel like that's another thing that perfectly exemplifies Lex Luthor has stupid money. To just
sometimes he does the funniest, dumbest things for being one of the smartest motherfuckers.
Because it's so unnecessary. You could just write bots, just computer bots.
Literally,
do this. But instead, what he does is he fucking genetically manipulates the minds of small monkeys to type hateful comments online about Superman.
My next question is, where do all these monkeys? Now that they're free, where do those monkeys go?
All over the place.
Crypto.
Dude, does one of them evolve into Gorilla Grodd? Gorilla Grodd started as an incel.
Oh, maybe. Maybe that, dude. Yeah.
Gorilla Grodd.
That'd be crazy.
Gorilla Grodd
instead of like
started out as an incel redditor.
Instead of like his whole thing, instead of constantly talking about being a ruler, he's just constantly talking about how woke things are. But still. God, it was such a Lex Luthor thing to do.
Sharing
monkey bots
and videos and shit.
Jesus Christ, that was so funny.
That was great.
Yeah.
No, and also fucking locking up an expert fucking writing about him on a blog, negative about him on a blog, like.
Oh, let's talk about Miss Tessmacher. Eve Tessmacher is so funny in this.
She was.
Oh my god, and something about it. I just love her and the idea of her and Jimmy together, even though it seems like toxic and not like terrible, like gaslighting or emotional abuse and stuff. But it's
honestly, if anything, Jimmy is the one that's a little toxic. In the situation because he's using her for leads, and knowing that she is evidently all on his dick for
afterwards, he does seem to be trying to keep his word.
Maybe.
Even if it's just to be nice, he did seem pretty jazzed about it when she hugged him at the end.
Her name is
turned into a nice smile.
What? Her contact name in his phone, Mutant
Toes.
And then we never see them. I love that that's like a hanging thing that we don't really get a
brought up again.
Yeah, bro. It looks like someone spilled shrimp cocktail.
God, what are these toes? And she's wearing open-toed shoes in the last scene. And I tried to look. And
I bet you they look fire.
Yeah, it's so close. Yeah, it's so fast you can't get it. Yeah, that was so funny. And she was so great.
Yeah.
And then her being a part of Lex's downfall because of very specifically taking a selfie is like a ditz would,
the second
she's ingeniously bringing Lex Luthor.
The second that she sent photos to him, selfies to him, instead of what he thought was going to be like evidence, and he was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I was like, "Oh, dude, she like," I instantly picked up what she did.
Yeah.
And I was gonna like lean over and be like, you know what they did, right? But I didn't want to like.
Isn't that just so crazy that like the person who really beat Lex in this movie was Eve Tessmacher.
Was a woman? Damn it, they are woke.
I wasn't gonna go there. We could have talked about that off.
No, I'm fucking woke. Super. Dean Cain was right, boys.
Dean Cain was.
We're gonna get a shirt that says Dean Cain was right.
And
we use this the bitch fell
off. Let's talk about Mr. Terrific for a second.
Sure.
Because I feel like he stole the show for a lot of the scenes he was in.
Do you think Mr. Terrific is on the spectrum? Is he?
Yes, 100%.
He
dude,
definitely is.
He literally said he doesn't care about emotions.
Yeah.
That is Aiden.
Yeah.
That is my son. He does not care about your emotions.
I thought as much, but I wanted to give it to the table to see what everyone was thinking.
As a parent of somebody who is on the spectrum and know and very close to multiple people on the spectrum. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt, and it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But God,
and
he's
what's another good indicator of that? Because they never say it in the movie. They never say anything like that. But he only really gets heavily emotional when they messed with his T-spheres. That is the one moment where he gets mad and animated. And stuff.
Do you know how much those cost?
Yeah, he fucked with his toys. He fucked with his shit.
Yeah. But God, is he a badass?
God, this movie is so woke.
It is so
woke. They made Mr. Terrific autistic. Oh, all right.
And then a woman saves the day.
And he's black.
And Superman's helping immigrants.
Why would he do that? Why would Superman of all people do
any
immigrants? Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, Mr. Terrific stole the show, man. He's so fun. If he does not become a recognizable name after this, I don't know what they got to do.
Oh, I was actually pleasantly surprised. I forgot that Britt actually watched the Flash CW show and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was like that was the only time that I did lean over and do a character explanation for a second. I was like, yeah, he's super cool. He's a genius. And she's like, yeah, no, I know who's Mr. Terrific is. I'm like, oh yeah, you watched it. Okay, never mind. We're good.
Because he was a big fixture in the Supergirl show. I think that was his. Or what? No, was it? Was Flash?
Yeah, because she's only
Flash.
Because I know they crossed.
I mean, he probably
was he in Legends of Tomorrow for a little bit.
I feel like he was.
I think he was a part of the roster in Legends of Tomorrow for a second. So he's had some exposure in recent years, but
I feel like this
is really gonna do it.
Like, because the one scene as they're approaching the portal, and he just takes out an entire encampment. Like, that was one of those James Gunn scenes.
That was a needle drop scene. It was a James Gunn scene. Very much a James Gunn scene.
And, because you have
I literally
all
thought the
this
same
going
thing.
on.
I thought of that hallway scene in Guardians 3. I thought of what I really thought of was Yondu with the fucking
even going back to Guardians 1, the fight scene in the prison where they're getting before they escape. It's all like kind of one continuous shot of everything going on.
It's the Suicide Squad where fucking Idris Elba's character, what's his name again? Not Deadshot, but not Deadshot, I think is actually his technical name. and Peacemaker are kind of having a pissing contest on killing people and shit.
Yeah.
It's very much in that type of vein, or Harley killing people with the flowers and shit popping out of them.
Yeah, it's very much one of his signature kinds of scenes.
And I feel like that's the one character that I feel like it fit with.
Yeah.
In the situation, everything fit with the situation they're put in, like you seeing some of it from Lois's perspective within the bubble.
Yeah,
was pretty cool.
And just like everything, but seeing him. Actually fighting.
And then and his gestures and stuff when he's doing it. I noticed that there's multiple times throughout the fight, it looked like he was more than anything dancing.
Yes, it looked like he was dancing, fighting, dancing, and because.
And then he had a few fun Western moves, like when he got done. I don't know if he's noticed, but he motioned with his hands where the balls go, and when he was done, he holstered.
Well, he within the scene put that music on. It was a needle drop moment, and eventually, most of the.
Sure? It was playing.
It was already playing at the camp.
Speaker.
Was it already?
Yeah,
oh,
because there was a scene earlier.
Still, though, I mean, within the scene, the song was playing, so maybe that was part of the whole dancing element of it. But he was great.
Yeah.
Fucking, let's talk Hot Girl's big moment where she murders the president.
Reaching
a little bit of pre-context is one of the things that we found out that Superman.
What happened? You got a little pre-context in your pants? Don't worry about
it. We found out that as during the interview, Superman admitted to taking the president of Barovia out to the desert and putting his back up against a cactus.
And he also pissed himself on the way there. We found that out at some point.
We find that out in the prison scene. And
that's another moment that Superman cusses. He says piss.
Oh, right, yeah. God, it's piss even. You know what? If somebody anyone who considers piss a curse word anymore, just... It is
I got
no time
foul language.
My kid will get in trouble in school if he says it.
Really?
Yep.
So, piss? Yeah.
But that's where it was followed up with the whole, he'll have to deal with me if he does anything else again, and it's implied that Lois was implying he was going to murder this president of Barovia. So Superman is faced with that choice of either saving Metropolis or saving the other country. Yeah. And so he calls in his friends. So we see the Justice Gang.
Which I thought they were really going to, by the end, come around to Justice League.
I thought fucking Element Man was going to come up with it.
Yeah. Right? I thought he was going to, he said while they were walking, I was so expecting him to be like, I don't know. What about Justice League?
I don't know. What about Team League? Him throw maybe a few words out there or something.
Tangent on the tangent. They had the fucking Hall of Justice in this movie.
Dude, yeah.
They had the Hall
under construction.
And they actually went to fucking Cincinnati and filmed it there. Yeah. At the train station.
Yeah.
I love the fact that there was still a man lift that was up there carving the E in Justice.
Yeah, and everything on the inside is all plastic sheets.
And not only that, but on the inside, what it looked like within universe, it was still a train station that was being renovated into that, because you could see two trains, like one of the signs that said 2 trains.
Okay,
up on the wall.
I didn't notice that.
And then you could still see some of the ticket booth areas and shit.
That's cool.
But I think within universe, since they were refurbishing this old train station into the Hall of Justice.
Yeah, that's great.
That's awesome.
But
which is a great way to use it and not have to do set dressing or a lot of editing and after the fact to take out shit that looks like it came from a train station, like a ticket booth area.
Hanging the plastic sheets and stuff like that. Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
Perfect.
But back to what you were saying with the Justice Gang coming in and fighting on behalf of
Superman. In Barovia. Yeah. Fucking Hawk Girl's a menace.
Her getting savage Like getting like being savage Hot Girl in that moment, bro, was
creep.
Because that is a very important element of Hot Girl, especially in recent years as she's been portrayed. She does have that bad fucking side to her.
Yeah.
And when she takes him like out, she's flying out of the building with was he the president or Dick?
He was the president of
Moravia. Okay, the president of Moravia, and she's flying out with him. And he says, "You're not going to kill me. I know how Superman works." And it was just like,
"I'm not Superman."
and then
it cutting to the Alka-Seltzer.
That was the perfect.
That was cool.
Split second before he hits the ground, you cut to an Alka-Seltzer hitting the glass of water.
In the glass.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Like that. That was such a good transition.
He's such a good filmmaker, James Gunn, buddy.
that Jim fella.
I think he's got a pretty promising career in this whole film thing. I think.
I think we're going to see.
We might see that name pop up.
Talking about old Jimmy Pistol. Yeah, I know him.
Oh no, we said that earlier on stream. The punk band from I like that little detail.
That is cool.
Actually, I think when they were talking about punk rock. Lois and Cliff, which I loved that little moment so much. And the three bands they name off, one of which was the mighty Crab
Joys.
The other two, I think, were also bands that James Gunn was in.
The PODs was one of them.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was like, do they mean POD? No, probably not.
No. I don't remember the other, but I do love that. Like, she's like, I'm just this punk rock kid, and blah, blah, blah.
I'm punk rock.
And then you come and he's like, I'm punk rock.
Dude, no, his line whenever she's talking about how, like, essentially, like, she kind of questions everything, but he kind of trusts everybody, kind of thing. And he's like, well, maybe that's punk rock.
Yeah.
Was such a Clark thing.
Yeah.
Dude. It was such a Clark thing to say.
So dorky, but like
also
in a way you love.
Dorky, but he was being honest.
Yeah.
He was speaking from his heart. Like, maybe that is the cool thing, is to be nice.
Loved it.
God, man.
The moment when the kids raise the flag.
Oh, man.
And I feel like that moment was almost like them raising the flag of Tripoli. You see like the statues of.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of
or like an Iwo Jima.
Or you see those statues, little ones, the big one, all that. The Marines raising the statues. But these kids are raising the flag, but these kids raising this super extended flagpole and then just start chanting his name.
Listen, with the leverage that kid had and how physics works in life, there's no way that he would have got that back up by himself.
No.
Holding it at the bottom.
However, I do love that moment. He's holding on to that flag away for Superman. And this is the crazy thing, man. This is the thing I can't understand about this movie.
Is that
it gave Guy Gardner a really good heroic moment to where for the first time ever in his existence and my knowledge of it, I have gone like, oh, that's why he's considered a hero. Then it's never been obvious to me before.
I love the middle fingers.
So
and all the different hands.
The scene that everyone has seen in the trailer where like he swipes his hand and you see like a green hand come up swatting a Humvee or something like that off.
Yeah.
It is a much bigger scene with multiple hands, most of them flipping the bird, knocking these things
there
over.
There were so many of them.
It was so good.
Oh my god.
So Guy Gardner.
He gets that moment where like just before this kid is about to be fucking gunned down.
He gets to have that heroic moment.
Because you see like there is one soldier right there in the center that like aims his weapon at that kid.
Yeah.
And then boom, shielded.
Yeah. Superman's busy dealing with something else. You just got an upgrade.
What was the kaiju? Is that's not pre-existing? Is it? It was just.
I don't know.
Not that I'm aware of.
I don't know. There'll be some like Easter egg videos that come out. So if it is, I'm sure it'll be pointed out.
You already know New Rockstar's already got a video out.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
it's sitting on my timeline. Just was waiting for me to see the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking. Is there anything else we want to really hone into spoiler wise? Mon Pa Kent, maybe a little bit.
I mean, there's not much more to spoil.
I feel like we've really kind of hit on them.
There wasn't a lot to spoil about them.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Yeah.
A random spaceship popped in with a woman that they've never met, bring their son out, and they're just like, "Hi, this is my name." You know what I mean? Like, just introduce themselves. Like, come on in, sorry. Like,
I'm Martha. This is John.
It is, yeah. Just not a like. What is this? Who are you?
Yeah.
It's like instantly like, oh yeah, nope, come on in, bring him on in.
Bring him in.
That moment where before the scene with Clark and Jonathan, that moment where they're doting on him in the bed, and fucking Pa Kent's like, "Is my boy gonna be all right?" Yeah. The emotion on that man's face. He sold it. So that's what got me tearing up.
What was Mal Kent calling him softy or
he's a big old softy.
Mush.
Big mush.
He's just a big old bowl of mush.
So good.
I couldn't leave Crypto with my parents because I was afraid he'd kill one of their cats.
Dude, I literally was just saying that to Britt while we were watching it. Whenever he's like kind of like playing with the cows, I was like, and then all of a sudden he just grabs that motherfucker and starts shaking and takes off with him.
Super barks.
Oh, let's talk about this. Fucking how many times Crypto saves the day in the
film.
Dude,
Man.
Yeah, how much Crypto was in this movie?
There was a stark amount more than I expected.
Like,
I didn't think they would kill Crypto.
No.
But I just did not expect to see him as much.
I didn't expect him to be as critical of a part of the movie.
Like, because he fucking Lex Luthor steals Superman's dog. Like,
dude, I literally, I turned and said to Britt, I said, Clark Wick, and she goes, what? I was like, never mind, continue watching.
Like, steal Superman's dog, and Superman's fuck everything else, like, straight into Luthor Court Tower.
Yeah.
Slings the desk against the window.
And you see that exact shot in the trailer, too, the throwing
but it's
the
so
desk.
fast, you can barely tell. Yeah.
But to just see Lex sitting there with his coffee mug and not even flinch, just go. It was a Lex move.
Yeah, very much of a Lex Luthor move. Yeah, because he has no fear of Superman. Like,
and he knew that Eve was there recording it, which is why he muttered what he did while he had cupped like the mug up to his mouth, so it would never seen him, and it was quiet enough it didn't pick it up. It just looked like Suits was kind of like, it was kind of going off.
Yeah, man. But Crypto fucking coming in and saving him from Ultraman. Like, he saves him.
Dude, saves him from at the very beginning in the snow. Like, as I was saying, the Ultraman hammer.
No. When Ultraman has fucking Superman down and about to throw him into the fucking black hole.
Yeah.
And the Crypto comes out. Yeah.
I mean, and then Crypto takes out all the fucking... all the cameras. Get the toy.
Yeah,
I said that to Brad, like, get the ball. Because that's what I say to Jim all the time. Get the ball.
And then Crypto coming in and ragdolling Lex Luthor.
Dude.
Oh,
what a Hulk on him, bro.
Oh my God, they did. Yes, that's exactly what that was.
I literally, right after it happened, I said, puny God.
and that scene right there, because it was such a tone shift for that scene.
Yeah.
But it fits so well.
I personally would have liked to have seen that tit for tat go back and forth at least one more time and then have Crypto come in. But either way, I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. It was so good. And the main important thing is for Superman to say his piece. That's the reason for that being there, and I feel like that got done effectively. Yeah. So I don't feel like I've been robbed of anything, but I would have written it out a little bit more.
Crypto's there, like, biting on stop, put him down. Like, clearly, like,
whacking him in between
this dog.
Dude, I cannot
and
wait.
Then he sits
to
down
see
like a
more of
little
it.
good boy. Like, did I do it? Is that cool?
I did good, Dad.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see more of him and Supergirl.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, he got me.
That boy sells tickets. Right
Yeah,
there.
he does.
You know there were people that just. I mean, Brittany was just there to see Crypto.
Yeah, he really sold it for her. All right, let's do some spoiler talk on as many characters as we can think of before we start kind of getting.
Yeah, we'll probably start one.
Perry White. I loved Perry White in this.
Very good. Very good. He doesn't. He's not a huge part of it.
Everybody at the Daily Planet.
But everyone gets something to do. Yeah.
Yes.
And
except for
what's her name?
Cat Grant.
Out? Yeah.
Yeah, Cat Grant. What? Yeah.
What was her purpose?
What did she do?
Tits.
Yeah.
Boobs.
Boobs.
Was her purpose.
That's what she was.
Look, there's 2 girls at the Daily Planet.
And one is a little easy, it seems.
But Perry, the actor that played him, I'm familiar with him from the show Suits. I don't know if either of you have seen it. Great show. But he's a phenomenal actor, and anything that I've seen him in.
He looks super familiar. I've definitely watched him in something before.
But he brought that presence that was needed, like, amongst that group.
The fuck, no one brought me a present.
Well,
well, and then even at the end when they're all about to load up, when they're all loading up into the ship, and like he's kind of like running the deal, and they're all bouncing off of each other, the ideas and what they're gonna do next and stuff. It's just such a good like.
Yeah, it's a bullpen at the newspaper office, whatever.
You can tell that they are used to like being this team. That works together on things.
Because while everyone else is trying to evacuate, screaming and running.
Lois is over there operating. She's like, transcribe this, and then Perry's double checking it.
Jimmy carrying the board up the stairs.
Yeah, the cork board.
I thought that was fantastic.
Oh, that was great. And let's talk about Jimmy a little bit. This Jimmy Olsen is so good.
I love this Jimmy.
I love that they made part of his thing, like coming right from the comics, is Jimmy Olsen is always pulling down a body in the comics, and they made that part of his thing.
And even so much so, they're like, "How do you do it? Like, how do you do this?"
And but they also played him again. They played him like, this is the Jimmy Olsen of 2025. He's not goofy. He's not off.
He's not wearing a bow tie.
Yeah,
but he seems like the type of guy that like. If he was born in a different decade, he would definitely be wearing bow ties.
I can see that boy in a bow tie.
He could pull a bow tie.
He is the 2025 Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, whenever he was casted, whenever I first heard that cast announcement, I was like, that's a good one.
They got that one right.
Yeah.
They played him so well. Let's Steve Lombardi. That mustache guy, Steve Lombardi, is the sports correspondent for Daily Planet.
Yeah, they were all.
He's from SNL and he's so fucking funny.
They were all funny. Like everybody that was from the paper.
Yeah,
I feel like their lines, their contribution to that dynamic.
Well, the little back and forth going on when Clark Kent comes into the office and Steve is there, like giving him shit the whole way.
Like,
that he's on the phone with his mom.
Yeah.
And
which I loved that little phone call too.
Yeah. Dude, the mom screaming on speakerphone like this over the phone.
And I'm not kidding, man. I've been privy to calls between Kayla and her mom, and that is exactly what that is. The old Southern mama out on the farm because her parents have
one person we have not really talked about at all. But I kind of dug was the engineer.
Yeah,
I thought she was like her character was very cool. Visually, she was very cool.
I would have liked to known a little more about her motivations. You do,
yeah. They drop a few things like, oh yeah, well I gave up my humanity for this.
And I feel like we haven't seen the end of her.
I mean, I don't need like Superman didn't save her parents or anything like that. Just like a little more. To let me know about the zealotism that she's presenting, because that's what she is.
I'm granted, there's been a
zealot for
there was a line, or at least one line within this movie referring to Lex's people as like his cult following.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it just that? I mean, like,
yeah, could be. Yeah, I mean, she's just totally bought in. She is drank the Kool-Aid.
I mean, everyone in his little power booth, was
love their fucking job is what they do, bro. They love their job.
They love their job.
And you got the guys that are controlling the drones, feeding the moves over, like all that.
Guy, the only other team of bad guys I've seen that fucking work behind the scenes like that was as enthusiastic was fucking Mysterio's team in fucking Far From Home.
Yeah,
they're back there doing bad shit, going, "Woo, we did it, boys! Good job, my man on the controls over there."
Yeah, but it's one of those like he has these people that are with him.
Yeah.
Like, ride or die with him. They believe in, what he's trying to do, trying to get rid of Superman. And I feel like she's definitely one that falls into that, but she has to have a deeper story than that because of some of her just athletic capabilities. Because
her body doesn't exist really. Like,
yeah. And so
she's all nanite.
Yeah. And literally had, like, anytime she would get hit in the face, you'd see the nanites under, and then she did that thing where she flipped it and her body just, like, morphed.
Yeah.
Which visually looked cool, but I'm like, you didn't need to do that. You could have just
I had the same thing. I'm like, well, that was cool. Very unnecessary.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, shows us what exactly you could do.
Ultraman was an interesting element, too.
Yeah.
I immediately theorized that it's a clone. As soon as they went to the I keep want to say the Quantum of Solace.
The
Fortress of Solitude. Yeah. Whenever he went to the Fortress of Solitude, it opened up before this was even before the scene where Clark mentions that, like, how could he got in? It only unlocks to my DNA. By the second that it opened up and everyone's like, what? Like, engineers looking like, what? How'd you get? I'm like,
clone.
Ultraman has to be a clone, dude. He has to be a clone. He's the only, like, that he need, like, he's the Hammer of Baravia who shoots lasers, all that. So, like, obviously he has the same powers. I did like your theory. You told me where your mind went.
Yeah. As soon as I saw that the mask was messed up, I don't know if you caught, but I kind of sat up in my seat a little bit. And it's because I thought it was Kara. Because in the comics, at one point, Lex Luthor was controlling.
In your defense, whenever you could first start it, before you seen the face and you just seen a little bit of hair, his hair is a lot lighter.
And longer.
Yeah, but, like, just lighter. It's like a light brown, and it almost looks blonde at one point, compared to David Cornsweet's hair as Clark is jet black.
Yeah, I'm glad it wasn't Kara. One, because we got that scene, but two, because then I would have felt like, oh man, there should have been a lot more build to this. There should have been something to this. Instead of it just being dropped, a bomb dropping.
It would have felt very much in the vein of the end of Lightyear.
Yeah. But it did make enough sense to me in the way that, like I said, I've never seen it.
I figured you did.
I was going to give you that reference and just move on.
It's so
but Lex Luthor did control Kara in the comic book, so I was like, there's enough for me to go okay, but
my brain didn't go there whatsoever when I was thinking about it, but after you said something to me about it after the fact, I was like, oh, okay, I could totally see that.
But that other Superman, that other Kal-El out there, is just floating in space.
Now here's what I thought. I thought that after, like, during the fight and they fell down to the Proton River or whatever the fuck it was called, I thought something was going to happen and all this, and it still probably could.
Doomsday?
No, I thought I was going to fuck his face up in
Bizarro. Yeah.
Because he's stupid. They mentioned that he's stupid, that he doesn't speak.
So you may be onto something because he called that an anti-proton river.
Yes.
So that could
opposite.
very, very easily turn into something that happens.
Yeah.
Because one of the other things I noticed, and now I don't know if this was just like the camera angles or what, but it almost looked like Ultraman had kind of like a lazy eye situation going on.
Yes, he did.
I
caught that too. And honestly, dude, like for a set, I mean, and honestly, this might be the case. David Cornswet might have a slight lazy eye because there is the close up flying where it does kind of look like his eye does that. But I caught the same fucking thing. I know exactly what you're talking about. Because that made me think in the moment, like maybe David Cornswet has like eye issue or something.
I did not catch that.
That'll just wander every once in a while.
But
it looked like he had one eye that kind of drifted a little bit, or a little lazy eye or something.
So maybe that dip in the anti-proton river, his lack of
that's 100% my theory is that like he's going to be.
That would make sense. Like I would be down for that. I know what their intentions with these DC movies is. They're aiming from here forward to do 1 animated movie, 2 live action movies a year is the goal. So it's not unimaginable that not long from now we might be getting a Superman 2, especially with the commercial success of this. I just hope that they stay steadfast on James Gunn's rule of we don't move without a script. So a script approved by him.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Creature Commandos is like in continuity.
100%.
Yes.
So
we've already seen Rick Flag Sr. in
so
that.
is Peacemaker. Right. Like Peacemaker season 1, but
so
evidently season 2. Have you seen any trailers or anything about season 2?
I haven't bothered watching it. It's one of those things.
Do you want to know anything about the trailer? There's like the post-credit scene of the trailer, quote unquote.
Sure.
There's an alternate dimension Peacemaker that pops up. It's slightly different helmet and stuff, so I don't know if that dimension is this dimension.
Which I almost forgot. We hadn't mentioned yet. Peacemaker cameo.
Popped up on,
But the reason I asked about Creature Commandos is we had Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos.
Who is also
and then
you haven't mentioned.
We had Rick Flag, Captain Flag.
From what I understand. The Rick Flag that we know from both of the Suicide Squad movies.
He's dead.
He is this Rick Flag's son. There is a weird carryover from the Suicide Squad to this new universe.
The guy who plays Rick Flag, who is Rick Flag Sr. in this movie, does the voice for Rick Flag Sr. in Creature Commandos.
So it is
that character.
Okay.
The same character that is from the Creature Commandos animated show is this same character who's also going to be in the new season of Peacemaker. Whose son within canon is the Rick Flag that we know from both the old Suicide Squad movies.
It's just hit me now, but is Rick Flag Crossbones from the MCU?
Yes.
Yeah. From Captain America 2.
Yeah. I clocked that immediately.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't think about it until just now.
I just knew that from casting shit a while back.
Yeah. I might have thought about it back then, but then just put it off.
Because that was my first thought. I was like, fucking crossbows?
Yeah.
No, that's Rick Flag, motherfucker.
He did a good job. Yeah.
I mean, but a very kind of a smaller role within the movie.
Very small role.
And so,
but we got a quick shot of Maxwell Lord in this universe.
Yeah.
There's one thing that's what do you say? There's one thing that's going to bring liberals and conservatives together or whatever. He's like knowing that Lex Luthor sucks or something.
Yeah, that was a good. Fucking what is James Gunn's brother's name? Sean. That's right. Yeah, Sean Gunn playing Max Lord. Hope to see him more.
Yeah.
They did just announce the Wonder Woman movie. Max Lord is a big Wonder Woman villain.
Yeah. So I don't know. I kind of don't want Max Lord right away. We just had a Max Lord. I feel like people might, studio sense at least, like, they might have a bad taste in their mouth.
Well, that's the thing. James Gunn is the studio.
Yeah. It's not even Warner Brothers. It's DC Studios.
They're
they
do whatever James Gunn thinks is right.
MCU legitly now.
Because I think everyone has gotten the memo we're starting over here.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a new Wonder Woman movie, it'll be obvious enough because it's not going to be Gal Gadot. So.
Maxwell. No.
the
God, 84.
president of Barovia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
well played character.
what
What
played.
a scuzzball.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like, not to get too political, but am I the only one that got Trump vibes from him?
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
Without being
It just,
they didn't.
honestly, I just got more of just scumbag leader type
They weren't
vibes.
very overt.
Yeah, that's
about
what,
it.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it's not. He doesn't hold an exclusivity to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not exactly like a 1-to-1 with any
No.
person you could think of.
No, but you could definitely pull parallels to.
Yeah.
Probably not just him, but
Yeah.
almost any world
Like,
leader.
The one part during the second broadcast or whatever when he's talking about
When
like
he's essentially
Superman's
being like,
harem or
oh
whatever.
yeah, that's our women the
He
Yeah.
wants
most.
the Barovian women
Oh
to be
my
the
God.
most beautiful.
Hashtag secret harem and hashtag super shit.
Yes.
Hashtag secrets harem. Shit, man. There's so much to love, so much humor in this.
Yeah, and I know that by the time we're done with this and we turn this off and we're done streaming, we're gonna think about one more.
We'll
point or
probably
two.
continue to talk about it.
But
oh my god, so
this
fun.
was, if we're doing Weekly Planet type of, like your review and your ranking. Is this the best movie ever or
Oh,
worst
it's the best
movie ever?
movie ever.
Yes.
It's the best movie ever.
It honestly, legitly is one of my all-time favorite superhero movies as of right now.
Yeah.
Like
It's up there.
first viewing, it checks all the boxes.
And don't get me wrong, I'm very I've realized about myself that I'm really bad about having like that
Rose-colored
newness.
glasses.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the rose-colored
yeah.
glasses the first day because I'm excited. Like I did the thing, ooh.
Yeah.
And then the more I sit on it, I pick shit
I've
apart.
gotten better at recognizing that within myself.
That's where I was going. That I was getting to the point where I was saying like, now I'm kind of understanding like, no, I'm now able to recognize like, oh, I'm just excited because like even if they did just gave me some Marvel slop where they're like, see, this is a thing. You like the thing, right? Here's that thing.
Yeah.
And like I could be like, yeah, I do like that thing. It's cool to see that thing. But I'm able to like actually be like, no, I do like that thing, and y'all did really good with that thing, and you guys fucking like made me care about the thing and everything. So like right now, that's how I'm feeling about Superman. Is
Yeah.
like